Gender-based violence is one of the most common and widespread human rights violations. It's directed to either gender or sex. As long as women have existed, they have been facing different forms of gender-based violence. In Uganda, there are a significant percentage of women that have in one way or another suffered from the gender-based violence.
According to World Health Organization, it is estimated that 1 out of every 7 persons in the world is living with a disability. Among women and girls, when further analysis is made, they found out that 1 out of every 5 women and girls live with disability. That's according to World Health Organization report 2011.
For many of us, these are just news stories, so imaginary, impossible, and so unreal. But for the victim and their family, this is a matter of life and death.
I am the mother of the girl who was abused by a man. So I got to know that she was abused by the time when she convulsed one night. I took her to the clinic the next morning, and when they checked her, the pregnancy was positive. By then I was moving with my sister. And I broke off since I was a mother and a single mother. I felt, and it's something that I didn't expect in life. I've just been seeing and hearing, but I didn't expect that it would happen one day in me also. I was annoyed. I was not drinking by then. I'd left drinking. But from nowhere I started drinking. Because the girl could convulse even for 4 days in the hospital. She could not talk. She could not do anything. I said, now what is all this? Because she was developing some mental illness because of that. Now when they checked her, they said she was normal. Everything was normal. But the brain was loaded with a lot of things.
Ya tarang de muni arapani mo mantata na ite dan kita kana muni abuna pia taurina tanga krologi yang laka akaranya yang akong tanya data mai to kari yang akong kita dikingi dari ngedi taka ringi tene ganyi mi yang de to lutu ikiara na ite ana gunanya ri da toro tangina pia karya yo toro tagini pasi kimi de tene ge to ne tini awozene tini sene amana na banya buno nyeta neni ka tariko ke gen nyen nyida tamari ke do ya tarpani so ko ke bragi nyida tagine ayari yo mun tengi sana ko ka en pakat kan.
While gender-based violence happens to all, for persons with disabilities, it's often compounded by disability-based discrimination.
Yeah, gender-based violence in Karamoja, surely it is really a big issue that affects people with disability in my district. Especially, let me say Karamoja at all, because we still have the same problem. When a disabled gets a problem, you find that the community marginalizes it. They don't take it like a serious issue. You find that they don't help our person with disability to solve their problem very fast. They take it like a minor thing. That most of our people with disability, they have not gone to school. 20% was going to school. The rest 80% is at home sitting like that.
Ani kara ke ngoli ki yoto ngane ne tamare to anu ko ram bore pedoret dan nare muna ko kunyi na bo poti yo dan al to mani na pane kar tara la kal go ngo gi la kala ka che beru dan nane ni to ge na be gurgur amara be ala ma ki buran ke de kana ba ni poti yo Etono tumi bunene borengin. Lokana ginya ko pe. Ana roba kanya mita koro. Muna ya ni ada muna ngi chani mula muna ya ngata manga to ke kale ngara na roba na le dia kana dia dada. Apa ni tamara ya to bo. Ana to mana ba ba warne ni bo ya la senta. Aki boy bon. Ana na ile magina ikile dala tamara ko kina ko na ngi yar nai. Tama ya ikile ngolo. Akawri ka ya ko ite magini yo yeni. Abu kia ngadang na ko ngana te boy. Ke ngole ke kara ke dunya ni robo dunya ngi pukecha. Kare buko kino akayi ngi puke kara 5 ni kanni. Ni cha ngole ke ni kana cha ke mu chi anga kipi. Dana na iti. Boy cha ngopa kara bodo.
Many times these people are in vulnerable states, something that is sadly taken advantage of by some individuals.
We have been facing challenges with gender-based violence. We persons with disability, especially women, are facing these challenges, but we used to fear to go and report, even including men's. Always gender-based violence, you find women, our women with persons with disability along the streets, people rape them, they go, somebody get pregnant, nowhere to report.
We actually have two different types here. We find you have direct violence and indirect. Under direct violence, we have the psychological bit where somebody will come and insult somebody who's disabled, maybe tell them you are lame, you cannot play football, you cannot be a goalkeeper. And then we also have the economic bit. We have whereby a man will not provide for a woman just because she is lame, or vice versa. You find a woman who is disabled may not actually be given a bigger piece of land compared to somebody without a disability. Why? Because they feel she may not actually be able to cultivate the land or put it into proper use, or even take the animals for grazing because they're actually disabled. We have forced marriage in the Karamoja culture, and this is something that is actually cropping up. Reason why people feel somebody who is disabled does not have what is required in society, and at times they might actually give them out for actually a very low number of cows compared to somebody who is actually fully functional. We have dangerous cultural practices. We have issues of FGM coming up, female genital mutilation, and you find this is actually another form of violence, because people who are disabled may be subjected to such acts of female genital mutilation because people feel they're not so important.
These people are our neighbors and friends, capable of contributing to the community development in various ways. Over time, societies have created an environment that does not make them realize their full potential.
The blame in the community was too high. Some were blaming my mother, some were blaming the man. Sometimes some people could tell my mother that, why don't you release the man and you make an agreement with him, they give you the money. Then my mother said, when he has already spoiled my child. Others are taking me as a fool. They are saying, Karo, why don't you accept the money? Why don't you accept the money and get the man out? Because even the day they took that man to court, the brother came. He wanted to give me money. But some friends of mine were there. They told me there is nothing about bribe on our children. They don't. And me, I just looked at the man, I told him, okay, if they are taking him to court, let him go and face the charges. He said money is there. Let him pay state or pay court, and he comes out. I don't need any money. Because this act of accepting bribe, and yet tomorrow it's my daughter to suffer. She will still come back to me to cry, Mommy, it's you who ate the money. Like us in Karamoja, the bribe is paid to the parents of the girl. Not even, your mother will not even take 2 cows, only 1 cow. But tomorrow when you start suffering from the man, it is you come back to your parents.
In light of the gender-based violence coupled with the COVID-19 pandemic, persons with disabilities in Karamoja are in a more vulnerable position compared to the rest of the population. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought an atmosphere ripe for tragedy, but also one to test the spirits of many.
When you look at this period of, especially the corona period, I would say the 2 years, it has impacted negatively negatively across whether child, whether mother, whether father, even even extended families. They are broken down because of gender-based violence. So you look at the impact of COVID-19. Up now it is still going on. Actually, it has escalated the issues of GBV. Fighting at home is the order of the day, especially in the community of Karamoja here, where there is a lot of Udwaraji. They drink and they start fighting. They cannot sit at home. They cannot listen to each other. So you find a lot of fighting. Every time at police here, we have cases of domestic violence, but emanating from home.
Many with disabilities in Karamoja region have been faced with the rapid growth of this vice, affecting the young and old, women and men. In many cases, the perpetrators of violence are caregivers, either at home or in institutional settings, and persons with disabilities often find themselves trapped by violent partners or family members because they are financially and socially dependent on them for survival. Because of culture, the people of Karamoja treasure crude alcohol, which when they drink, gets them out of their sanity and as a result enhances violence in the community. This is one of the biggest causes of gender-based violence.
Our culture as Karamojong, we used to rape women. We don't engage. We just get any woman on the road, you rape, and that one becomes your woman.
For those lucky enough to have lived to tell the story, life will never be the same again. Physical disability and scars from this violation tell very little of the emotional tumult that they have to face for the rest of their lives.
And from there, life was hard. Everyone rejected us. It's only my mother who accepted me because I was a child. It was difficult for her. It was difficult for her to reject me because I was her own blood. Even my own father started rejecting me. And up to now.
Amonar ni ara no we. Ikia da burang taranga bito mi adai. Pada to kona kenya kuni ada Mariana bokana mi adai kinoria ani bokana yoko. Ani ikia da kara kilimo yo to anda mari to ani yonga e dara cheda lo go muni aku. Ikia da na tamu na yonga ko ni kona iko kona epito kona lo pelo. Ikia da kam pana kara ni kada kari yo kara kenga. Ikia da kena kini yo boreng ni ngata ngata. Kana me ikia da kam boreng ni nyami yo. Karake kena kai kiyo ko dalili mi ya ko an ira tamari ni English tu kene ya kana be kia da karake ke kenya rayo to mana. If someone is calling you like this, you cannot be near because their mind is very far.
There is evidence that men and boys can be harassed, beaten, raped, and killed in armed conflict.
Rana yera ebile juga dara na bokat. Amro ba na pipa ni juga na pede ka kena ta maje. Hararu baca na ta ka tinga ngapa ro boko tera wana ta itu ngana na ko ni. Alo to olo tanda gin na rete ke. Atar na ibarin to kana lo mun toroba na ite. Ni abulo urto belar. Bala jari ka tamai tamuni cia ka tora tamai ruko ko te o yara. Nambona am jalara ngal. Raw ja kipera ne fa ne ko ngana. Panda nambo ringa cia ni ara ko ana jeng ni ara cerne mamu je gare ngai ko ni. Pana bari be o be ake ma tamara ke mamu. Apa ke bu bari ni anya ma ne to ni jang panya no kana pe.
For people with disabilities, the process for reporting violence is often inaccessible because of inadequate policies and standards.
The rate at which people with disabilities report cases of gender-based violence is not so much. Since I came here, I think only 2 people have reported. The 6 months I have been here, only 2 people with disabilities have reported cases of gender-based violence. And that one doesn't mean that gender-based violence is not happening against them. It could be happening, but maybe because of transport constraints, lack of sensitization, community, social status and all that. You find those challenges stop them from coming to report. Or ignorance, some women or some people who are having disabilities might be down there being battered when they don't know that once someone assaults you or denies you food, you should go and report to police. So lack of sensitization is a challenge. People who have hearing impairment, or we have a challenge of sign language interpreters. I think here in Morotorek at this station we don't have anyone. So if such a person has such a challenge, it becomes very difficult for us to attend to them.
Many families have been abandoned, with several of the assaulted losing lives, causing the increase of orphans and poverty in the region of Karamoja.
Development has been hampered. You see, a family where there are fights, there cannot be development. Development will not happen. Malnutrition, because of child neglect, assuming I'm a husband and I have chased my wife out of the family, the children are left unattended to by their mother. They end up lacking no one to provide them with food and drinks, and at the end malnutrition results. Most families are either headed by children or single parents or single mothers, which is a very negative thing.
Many of those people die, and in such instances, these go unreported.
NUDIPU is the National Union of Disabled Persons of Uganda, formed in 1987 as a unifying body that brings together all categories of disability, including sensory, mental, and physically impaired categories of persons. It has membership of 112 district unions and 114 national disabled persons organizations. It has a vision of a just and a fair society where persons with disability live a prosperous and dignified life, and the mission is to advocate for the rights of persons with disability in a unified voice for improved livelihoods. NUDIPU currently, in its programmatic intervention, is being guided by its strategic plan from 2020 to 2024. This strategic plan, therefore, guides NUDIPU's intervention across the country in every kind of program. And this strategic plan has 3 core areas. One of them is strengthening the capacity of DPOs to deliver on their mandates. That is one of the core objectives within this strategic plan. And then another one is to address the needs of persons with disability effectively so that they are included in the socio-economic empowerment in the development frameworks within this country. And another one is to influence policies of government and other actors to be inclusive in addressing the needs of persons with disability. Therefore, to address one of these objectives, NUDIPU developed a fully-fledged project we are calling Gender and Disability Inclusion in Practice Project, GADIP. This project largely addresses two core objectives of the strategic plan. One of them is objective number 3, which is addressing the needs of persons with disability to be included in socio-economic development frameworks in Uganda, and to strengthen the capacity of DPOs to deliver on their mandates.
Living with a disability is not inability. They need to be loved and helped to live a normal and meaningful life. They too have aspirations and dreams. It takes a community to serve a community. Let's fight to end gender-based violence for the disabled and for the world. The road to leveling the playing field is not yet over. Together, we can make this happen.